So I'm Dean Beers, and with my wife Karen, we are associates in forensic investigations. We are a Rocky Mountain-based agency providing expert medical legal consultations and legal investigations nationwide in death and serious bodily injury in civil, criminal, and probate litigation. This includes fatal and non-fatal events, denied life insurance benefits and appeals, as well as family question deaths and all these things related. So this is one of our case studies that we did here at Associates in Forensic Investigations. And in this particular case, this is about law enforcement agents discharging their firearms, some trajectory analysis, and some evidence review. This involved 3 first-degree attempted homicide charges against the defendant as well as some others. So our agency was retained to review and analyze all the records, reports, and photographs from the discovery of the official investigating agencies. And because this was an officer-involved shooting, it was investigated by the Judicial District and agencies within the Judicial District that included the involved agents. We were asked to provide an expert case review with our consultation specific to the gunshot trajectory and the related evidence specific to the law enforcement officers, their actions, and the defendant and his actions. So the drug force was conducting undercover operations at the defendant's home, and it involved swapping out a GPS unit on the defendant's car that was parked in the driveway. They had the appropriate search warrants for this, which we'll talk about, as they had 2 people watching the house, entrances and exits to the house, and another agent, law enforcement agent, was under the vehicle swapping out the GPS unit. There was some what they called clanking happened with that, and then they were alerted that by seeing the garage lights come on and the garage door suddenly flinging open and the defendant coming out and shooting at them as he exited the garage. In response to this, they identified themselves as law enforcement agents, even though they were plainclothes undercover, so they didn't have the uniform, but they had their badges, and they identified themselves verbally with several commands. And then they retreated to cover and concealment. One ran in one direction to another direction. The 2 ran behind a car parked in the neighbor's driveway, and the one ran across the street towards cover at that house. And then the continuation. So all the law enforcement agents had stated that the defendant shot at them multiple times, and that they could both feel and hear the bullets singing past their ears and their head as they were retreating for that concealment and cover. Only one officer returned fire. He emptied the full clip of his semi-automatic sidearm, and from behind the vehicle, only removing himself from a limited amount of cover to return fire. The defendant was hit one time in the arm. It resulted in an extended hospital stay because it went through his arm and into his torso, including hitting the lung. So at that point, the defendant was then arrested, and he was charged with the attempted homicide of all 3 police officers, and he was also charged with felony possession of a handgun, multiple counts of drug possession, and also that drug possession due to quantity with intent to sell and parole violations. So in our review of the evidence, including the submitted search warrant and arrest warrants, the evidence in these included that there were no windows that we saw, that is, in our observations, there were no windows on the garage for which them to see any light come on. So there was no, it was a fully closed garage door, no panels, no windows. There were no side windows, and from their vantage point, they could not see over the privacy fence to the only window, which was the back entrance exits door, the window in that. The judge signed off on these warrants with these photos embedded that they took after the scene during the investigation, which showed there were no windows for that to happen. The other thing they had was there was only one spent casing, and it was identified to the defendant's handgun. That spent casing was on the ground at the neighbor's yard where they ran across to take cover and concealment behind their parked vehicle at the neighbor. That spent casing could have been kicked from anywhere to the location it was in. There were defects in the tree coming from the direction of the one law enforcement officer that fired. There were no defects in the house and the defendant's vehicle had, I believe it was 3 defects coming again from the direction of the 2 officers next door that were hiding behind the vehicle. He stated, the defendant, that he fired 1 time into the ground. That could be consistent with the single casing found and its approximate location within several feet if it were kicked. So there is that part. The defendant's handgun had an extended magazine. It was about 2/3 empty of its total 30 rounds. And the volume of drugs were consistent with being intent to distribute. It was a large volume of drugs that he had concealed at whatever point before or during all this going on. Our theory on the handgun was they stated multiple rounds were fired because the magazine was about 2/3 empty. However, there were no spent casings anywhere, and the scene was kept secured immediately by law enforcement that came from the area, as well as the 3 that were there. So nobody was in the scene according to their body-worn cameras and things like that the responding officers had. The undercover officers did not have body-worn cameras. So the outcome of all this, well, after over a year of negotiation with the prosecution by our client, the defense attorney, it was about 1 week before trial, and the prosecution agreed to drop the charges of the attempted homicide against the 3 law enforcement officers. There was no evidence supporting the statements of the officers, and the charges could not be litigated. Ultimately, the prosecution, this is what the prosecution said, the judge agreed. What was interesting was none of the law enforcement agents showed up to give any kind of sentencing statement, impact statement, nor did they show up by remote, nor did they offer one in writing. In fact, nobody was there except for the 2 prosecutors that were there. The remaining charges stayed, and those included the drug possession, handgun possession by a felon, and things like that. The judge noted specifically that this was a very unusual plea agreement, and that it was she agreed to it based on the submitted forensic investigators' report, and sentenced the defendant to the balance of the other charges, as that discussion went on. So it was nice to see that our report, our review and analysis of the forensics of the scene and the evidence was acknowledged by the judge. This was not the same judge that signed off on any of the warrants. So that was the outcome of that case. On that, the appropriate charges, the appropriate outcome, and the appropriate sentencing were all by everybody. Thank you. How can we help you and your clients today? Contact us now. Email us direct to schedule a confidential phone consultation, compliments of us.